Well, welcome everyone to the TST Roundtable July 2025. I'm G. Trulia, the founder and president, and I'm here with
Pierre Respo.
the
Okay, all right, vice president. But everybody knows who I am anyway.
tonight's roundtable. I mean, this has been a hot summer, right? What better guy to have on than Steve Schaber? Steve is Steve is the editor-in-chief at Action Magazine. He's a director of training and regulatory affairs, Mobile Air Climate Association, and he's going to be a wealth of knowledge. You could throw a bunch of questions at him. If you don't, I will. So he'd rather you throw them at him than me. But he has information on AC and climate control. Remember, today's AC system is not just a refrigerant system. It can be affected by heat and other computerized stuff and so on. Refrigerant, oh, you thought you just had 134A and noticed the price going up and 1234YF. Well, Steve will fill you in on what else may be out there. And MACS membership. What? You're not a MACS member? You need to be a MACS member. We got a special deal for you, actually, from MACS. The TST big event, we have the actual date now, March the 28th, 2026. And we'll go over our sponsors here. Dorman, our major sponsor, Dorman Training, offers free Dorman Lunch and Learns, light and heavy duty. In fact, tomorrow, a good one on air condition, heavy duty air condition with Sweet Owen. So that is free at lunchtime tomorrow, which is Thursday, right? Thursday?
It is Thursday, yes.
I forgot what day it is. Paid for webinars. We have Kenny Zanders coming up with a good parasitic draw 2-hour webinar for $40. You can go to dormantrainingcenter.com. Subscription plans, go check that out on the website. Seminars, hands-on training. One at the MACS location coming up with Josh Weaver on, let's see if I can pull that out of my head, eScan. So there's still some openings there. Check on the Dorman Training website. And in-shop training, you have specific needs, we could come out to your shop. DormanTrainerCenter.com. Of course, Automotive Test Solutions. Next month, we have the one and only Bernie Thompson. Oh, and I should have shut my phone off, but I didn't.
That's why I muted mine, because I knew it. There we go.
So Bernie Thompson will be our guest speaker next month. He'll be speaking about carbon buildup and ATS's new equipment that is very reasonably priced and works well. How do I know? We beta tested it here for quite some time. ATTS, my company, obviously we've been a big sponsor of TST from the beginning. Napa is a good sponsor of ours. Every year they've been behind us. We'd like to thank Napa and Napa Auto Cares. Run Right. Well, Pierre, you remember Bruce.
Bruce was with us since the very beginning.
Of STS.
Of STS,
days.
before we were TST.
Before we were TST.
Yeah.
We did a great thing with Chevron Texaco and went to a research center. In fact, that was right after 9/11.
Yes. And they had to have heightened security, and they couldn't let us do all the stuff they were originally wanted to do because of 9/11 concerns.
Yes. Unfortunately, they closed up that facility upstate New York, and now everything is out in California.
Half of it's actually condos now.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Look at that.
They chopped up the site and put condos in.
But anyway, Run Right is great Chevron Techron stuff, all good chemicals, good people out of PA. Opus IVS, what? You don't own an Opus IVS? What are you, crazy? This is a great tool because you can't operate every factory tool. Like, see, Pierre, he has one of those things called a Tesla. So if he wants to get...
Thanks.
If he wants to get into it, what's he going to do? Call Elon? But you could actually pay for Toolbox, or you got the Opus IVS. They get in, and if you don't know how to navigate it, the guy on the other end is an Opus employee, and guess where he worked? He worked for Tesla. So he'll walk you through, and of course they do domestics, European, and Asian cars. Good sponsor of us. Just was speaking of Whirlpack. Whirlpack will be supplying us some guys real soon. They've had a little bit of a changeover, but Whirlpack, great company. Flow Dynamics. Flow Dynamics actually has some air conditioning machines, totally refurbished. They were units that were used for demos. They come with a full warranty. So if you're interested, contact Doreen at TST. So it'll be Doreen at tstseminars.org. They make some great equipment, and for many tool companies, you know, the big red tool company, can't mention the name, Associated.
By the way, they've also been a sponsor of ours since virtually the beginning.
Definitely. Frank Casal and his crew, great people. Associated, super good equipment. Anytime you see us do a webinar, there's always an Associated battery maintainer, not a battery charger, battery maintainer connected to the vehicle. They make some good stuff as well. Texta, one of our newer sponsors. I did beta test their stuff years back out of Italy when they only had gray market cars. And I'm like, well, we don't have them here. Very few of them, actually.
Rare, it's rare, yeah.
It's rare. But they now make very good stuff. I hear rave reviews about their heavy-duty stuff. So check Texter out. And Can Do, Jeff used to be the owner of Can Do, used to be the president of Launch. So Victor and Jeff, good sponsors of ours for years as well. And if you are looking for a reasonably priced scan tool, check Can Do out. Motor Age. Well, you know, Pierre and I were supposed to be doing another Motor Age freebie, but for some reason it's on pause right now, but I'm sure others will be coming up. Motor Age training, if you're looking to take your ASE test and you need a refresher, you could RTFB, read their freaking book, or online, and it would help you maintain your ASE certifications. All Data, nothing but great stuff. System and description. It is a great system for information, and they don't leave anything out. They do a good job, all the factory stuff.
And if you have, and it's true of Mitchell, if you have a problem, you can contact them and they'll dig up whatever esoteric, crazy stuff you're working on. You know, because I get crazy esoteric stuff sometimes.
Yes, and especially your Land Rovers, Range Rover.
We had a Rolls Royce a couple of weeks ago at Eric's that was troublesome getting wiring diagrams from, or for. Yeah.
That happens.
A rare model to boot, make it worse.
And Mitchell 1 Pro Demand, very good, quick information. We use it all the time. You need specs, bingo, you know, you can pull them right up. Remember, when it comes to air conditioning, don't always go by what the label says under the car. There may have been a TSB, and that update would be there right in Mitchell. Always consult service information. Motologic, another great company. We beta tested here.
And gave them a lot of input, actually.
A lot of input.
And of all of them, I think that I find it easier to use their wiring diagrams. The search part, not necessarily the wiring, the search part is easiest.
They have both. They have OE Factory and Valley Forge.
Right.
So they have two different
but
types.
It's, you know, I like their search a lot.
Very good.
When you're searching for something that, you know, I'm a BMW guy. It doesn't turn up too easy.
I remember Tom Schmidt was the guy. He was the owner of the company who put it together. It is owned by Advanced Auto Parts right now, and they've been doing a great job with it.
Yeah.
So hats off to them. AirSap, oh, what could I say about the president of MACS? Am I correct, Steve? Steve?
Yes, sorry about that.
Okay.
Yes, chairman of the board.
Chairman, that's it. I wanted to get it right. See, I got it wrong. But Aaron Becker is a great, great guy. Great products. You know, if you don't have an air guard on the side of your machine, and if you watch
Russian roulette,
you bet. And you know what happens when you play Russian roulette?
Eventually you hit the one that has a bullet in it.
And this time of year, if you have a problem with sealant getting in your machine, and remember, every big box store, every parts store, you know, Walmart, you name it, they sell that crap. And of course, one can's not enough. You know how Americans are. We stick 2 cans in.
More is better.
So
Right. and then don't tell the shop they did it.
That's, oh no, they lie. They lie.
Why would you tell the shop you did it?
And nowadays, to my understanding, the old Neutronics company, MSN, and maybe another new name, whatever the name of the company is, they no longer sell the little sealant detector. I'm lucky that I still have some of the pieces and a sealant detector. You may be able to find some online. We check people's cars out, but it ain't for free because the tool's not for free, right? So check that out, and if you cannot get it, well, I would definitely hang an air guard on the side of your machine. And by the way, they make tons of fittings, things that are obsolete that you can't find out there. We have all their fitting kits, and they're phenomenal. Diag.net, well, our buddy, what's his name?
Scott Brown. Must be a good buddy.
I'm glad I speak to him all the time.
Scott was instrumental in starting all of this, still obviously.
Yeah, if you go back to
big part of it.
CompuServe days for techs only.
Chat for techs.
Yeah.
Wasn't it chat for
No,
techs?
that
It was for techs only.
That was the
right?
one Schnell and I did.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. Sorry, wrong name.
But for techs only on CompuServe, then of course with IATN and Diag.net, he actually launched it off and made the announcement at a TST
At one of our big events. Yeah.
So here's what we got coming the next few months. Next month we said Bernie. September is a paid for, so next month's free. Then in September, Craig Shippey. You're going to love Craig again. Now there's a whole bunch of stuff with the new Otis software. So Craig has a bunch of good stuff. Brandon Steckler will be out. We have proposed Peter Orlando, just getting back to us if he can do that. Same with Robert Kenny in December. Brandon Matthews, all 3 of those should be getting back to me. If not, we will put someone else in there. Bill Weaver from Napa, their best instructor. If you've seen Bill last year at the TST big event, he did a great job. And this year, the TST big event, Adam Robertson, Ken Zanders, and Andrew Fisher. You need to sign up like right away because these are, Doreen says she doesn't have it up yet, but it will be up within a week. You need to sign up as soon as it gets up there because these guys are amazing.
An email will go out.
An email will go out, Doreen says. And of course, then we will have April, May, and June. I haven't gotten in touch with everyone there. Hopefully Gary Smith, I know everyone loved the last one he did. That was really good. And maybe Jeff Zide again, or maybe Bernie. You never know. But anyway, that's what we have. And Maca and tools. And then we will turn this over to Steve now. So I'm going to just go like this. And Steve, you're on. Look at that. Greetings from Lansdale. That's where he is. So, oh, Jim Wilson again. How about that? How you doing there, Jim? Thanks for coming on. All right, so let's use the chat box and get questions. I'm going to ask Steve a couple of questions right now, and Pierre, you can jump in at any point. So, Steve, what do you think is going to happen to the price of R134A? Oh, what happened to pricing then?
Yeah, it went nutty.
Right.
They were stealing R12 out of cars in parking garages.
Oh, yeah. We had to put little seals, heat shrink
Yeah.
on lines because customer would go, hey, my air conditioning ain't working. Well, where's your little caps and where's the little heat shrink we put on there?
Right.
People were stealing it. And what is it? Temu. You can buy everything on Temu. And, you know, these guys can be stealing your stuff 1, 2, 3. A lot quicker than years ago.
4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I think it should be 2029 is the next step down. So yeah, I mean, you know, I really expected there to be a huge price spike in 2024. But you know, when they did the phase down in 21, we saw a big jump because I think I wrote an article in the summer of 21 about the upcoming phase down. And at that time, I bought 2 bottles of 134A, and I think I paid $85 a bottle, something like that, $80 a bottle.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
They were running a special. If you bought 2 bottles, you got them for 85. So of course I got 2. And then that next season, that next winter, I was getting phone calls from MACS members. I mean, all over the country. I can't buy refrigerant. My parts store won't sell it to me. I remember one member in North Carolina, the store would only sell them 1 bottle. Another guy down in Florida, none of the stores would sell them refrigerant because they were so worried, like, we're not going to be able to get any refrigerant to sell any. Everyone kind of sat on their stockpiles. Even the stores wouldn't sell it. And back then the prices went up to almost $500 for a 30-pound cylinder that year. And then, of course, it came back down. I think
Then
it's
it
kind of
settled,
settled.
yeah.
I don't know. What are you guys seeing? Like 280?
I think the last time, and we have quite a bit we bought. I think I bought some last time at 2 something, but now they're way over 3, maybe 4.
Almost 4, yeah.
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 And what are you guys experiencing out there? Could you type in how much you're buying 134A if anyone buy any recently?
Yeah, that would be very interesting because I have a couple of a couple MACS members that we'll text each other. How much was 134? How much is YF? Just to kind of get an idea.
So with you guys that are on, no one bought any refrigerant? I'm surprised.
Maybe they still have a lot stockpiled from when it was cheaper.
It's real easy to put 3 numbers in. Okay, so something there, 2 weeks, it's a couple of guys selling 30-pounders for $200.
I'd be a little leery of that.
That's probably not the real deal. Let me ask my phone here. What is the current price of a 30-pounder in the New York area?
And that's 134A.
134A, 30-pound cylinder. Yeah, sometimes it says 2 something. Wow.
Yeah, when I
I
googled
think
it,
I bought one last year for about 280 something.
Yeah, but this year,
Not this year though.
30-pound, 55. Wow, I'm surprised.
yeah, and I think the last price that I heard about for YF, it was like, I want to say it was just under 5.
Yeah, I mean, I know we get stuff like from Whirlpack always has it up on their site. I haven't noticed lately what the price is because we have a bunch of it. But yeah,
No,
obviously. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
I'm sorry, no, sorry, 450. Yep, that's the last one I have in here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it is around here. Last I seen, I didn't take a look recently, but quite expensive. So when
Yeah.
it goes up, you know what's going to happen? There'll be either you're going to charge your customers some crazy amount, or Steve, what else may happen?
Oh, well, we're seeing all kinds of stuff. I mean, we have over the last several years, of course, we've seen a lot of people charging 134A into YF cars because of the price difference.
Price.
Right. We've also seen the opposite happening in Washington State because they banned the sale of 134A in small cans. But you can go to the auto parts store and buy small cans of YF. So people are using small cans to charge their older cars. Yeah, the older cars with 134A, consumers on the weekend guys, they're charging their 134A cars with YF.
Could be pretty expensive, but it could be done.
Right. I mean,
there's gender benders all over the place, isn't there?
Yeah. I mean, I guess if you're, I don't know, my idea, I mean, if you're, whatever your car is you're driving, a 2010, some Chevy, and you can go to the store and get a little can of YF for, even if it's $100, some people think, hey, it's cheaper than taking it to a shop. Let me throw this in. Or, I guess if you live in Seattle, maybe it's cheaper than driving down to Oregon or out to Idaho where you can still buy 134A in the small cans. So I think that's where we're why we're seeing that happen. It's just because.
So we're going through, first it was chlorofluorocarbons, the
Right,
old R12 Freon days. Now it's hydrofluorocarbons.
right.
So the tree huggers get all new stuff always thrown at us, and it costs us more money.
Yeah.
But that being said, it seems like where you're going with this is at some point it may be cheaper and maybe the only thing you can get, like what happened with R12. There was a point where you couldn't find R12. And if you were able to buy it, it was super expensive. And I remember I had some customers that had classic vehicles and they wanted the old refrigerant in there. Well,
Yep.
I didn't have any more left, and trying to hunt it down was pretty tough.
It was impossible at one point there.
Yeah.
It really was. And now
Yeah.
it's kind of come back, but I don't know what it actually is in the cans. There's still R12 around. That
Yeah,
they're
there's
selling
actually quite a bit
something
of
as
R12. There's quite a bit. I mean, a lot of people, I think all of us, any one of us on this call, we can think of probably a handful of people that stockpiled R12, and from what I've heard, the going price is somewhere around $400 a cylinder. I know that some of the people or the big companies that they have new old stock, certified, certified reclaimed or certified new old stock R12. That's going for more like $900 a bottle. But private trade, hey, I know this guy Chuck. He's got 3 bottles in his basement he saved from 1996. They're getting like $400.
And when you open that valve up, it's all over.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember some of the valves being a problem on the bottles.
There may not be anything in it when they open it anyway.
Yeah. Very
Yeah.
true. Yeah, it's kind of tough. So you think we'll get to the point of retrofitting, the nasty word.
Yeah.
Before it used to be 80% from 12 to 134A.
Right.
So this is pretty much a similar chemical. Tell us, is it going to be, if it took 1 pound, 4 ounces, is it going to be 1 pound, 4 ounces or 80% of that?
So the ones that are in play for professional shops are all 1-to-1. Because right now there's really only 3 that are in the works, so to speak. There's been several so just going back, before a chemical manufacturer is allowed to sell a refrigerant to us for use in mobile AC system, they have to go through what's called a SNAP application with the EPA. So pick a company, the great big refrigerant manufacturer company. They want to sell us, replacement refrigerant for 134A. So they have to go to EPA. There's I think it's a 38 page document they have to complete with risk assessments, safety information, toxicity, blah, 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 chemical structure of the molecules, atmospheric lifetime. There's a lot of things that they have to report. And then they send this into EPA, basically saying, here's what I want to use. Is it okay if we do this? And then that process takes years. One of the drop-in, or not drop-in, one of the retrofit refrigerants is called R456A. And that was originally, I'll call it applied for. They did the SNAP application back in September of 22. And I just found out about a month ago that EPA found their SNAP application complete. So that was 22, 23, 24, 25, almost 3 years before the paperwork process. That's just for the application for EPA to do the initial review.
Do they have to pay for that, Steve? Is there money involved, do you know, or?
No, not directly. There's no EPA fees. Our taxes pay for, the EPA and their team that does the review process. For the refrigerant manufacturer, there is a lot of cost to them directly because of doing the risk assessment. It's a huge process. I mean, there's a lot of mathematical calculations that they do in software where they model the refrigerant and they model how it will react under all sorts of different conditions. They have to study, what's going to happen if the refrigerant, I'm just thinking out loud, like, what if it leaks out and it's cold outside? What if it leaks out and it's hot outside? What if it leaks into the cabin when it's cold or cabin when it's hot? What if it leaks out and there's an ignition? What if it leaks out and it's in a garage space? The car's parked in a garage. What if it's in a small garage or a big garage? And it's a long, the refrigerant companies contract with, there's companies who they specialize in risk assessments for chemicals. There's actually, this is like a little tangent, but there's this thing called TSCA. It's the Toxic Substances Control Act. And there's companies that run risk assessments for all kinds of stuff, for gasoline, for engine oils, for carburetor cleaner, not just refrigerant. And then they'll contract with them. I don't know what it costs. $100,000, $200,000, $10,000.
Now, do they just do simulations, or do they do actual lab or field testing on this stuff?
They do both. They do a lot of, there's like computer models that they'll run. But like, for example, for one of the refrigerants, which is not going to be a retrofit, but we are currently in the SAE group, we're running what's called a CRP. It's a cooperative research program for R290, which is propane. So for that one, they're actually doing real world testing on vehicles charged with R290, put in what they call a test shed. So it's basically they build a garage in a warehouse, put the car into the garage they built. They'll generate a leak of the refrigerant and then ignite it and see what happens. I mean, obviously the garage is going to go, it's not going to explode.
That's like the EPA shed test.
The
for
shed
evac.
test. Yep.
It's
Same
cool.
thing. Yeah.
Cool.
Same thing. But for some of these replacements, for some of these retrofits, they're not going to that extent. So, yeah.
So are they going to be unique fittings?
Yes. And actually one of your sponsors, Aircept, is one of the manufacturers of those. Actually, Aaron and his team, obviously they're going to be making some of the adapters and the fitting connections. But they're actually, kudos to them. Like, they're doing a lot of the R&D for this, which they're not getting paid for. You know what I mean? Like, they're doing it because these products are going to come out. But there's a lot of time and investment and research and doing CAD drawings and making prototypes and testing.
Yeah, I've seen some of the prototypes. Pretty neat.
Yeah, it's pretty
Aaron showed me.
intense how they'll make a thread, we'll connect it and say, it's a little bit tight. We want to shave it off here a little bit, and we'll go back to the drawing board, draw it again. So it's kind of cool.
The name of the company is Aircept.
Aircept. Yeah.
Aircept. By the way, Aircept is sold through Napa stores, through Whirlpack, through O'Reilly's, Advance, CarQuest. They package it in their own package. It may not say Aircept on it. And a lot of the parts guys don't even know they sell these things, but they do.
Yeah. And Dorman.
And
Dorman's
Dorman,
a lot of the wine places. Yep.
what do I want to get fired? Dorman? Can I forget?
I
A big
have one.
sponsor.
I have one over on my shelf. So
That's right. Dorman, we sell a lot.
yeah.
You got a great guy there, Lester. Anytime you have a problem or a question.
Yeah.
Good people. Hard to believe that they can cause, does that say never any parts available?
I can't read it from here, actually.
Yeah. Um, yeah, some of the parts stores don't know a lot of stuff.
You know,
It's what they decide to put in there and try to sell. It's just like when we replace a compressor, Aircept sells these little filters. If you seen that compressor was gooped up with junk, you want to put filters in so you don't ruin the
new
new
one.
or rebuilt one, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and we got something here. What's the name? Is 1234 YF being phased out?
Yeah, so definitely not. Um, Actually, I mean, so the only thing that's being phased out is HFCs, which is what's sparking all of this activity. Like I said, the Congress passed the AIM Act in 2020. It was signed by, at that time, President Trump in his first term signed the AIM Act to phase out HFCs. So that got us started with, what are we going to do with future cars? Specifically battery electrics is really what kicked it off back in 2021. And we started working on, actually the project was called Our Magic. We were looking for that perfect refrigerant that could work in an EV with a heat pump system at extremely high temperatures, upwards of 130, 140 F, and extremely low down to -40, -50 F. So that was the R Magic, which is still going on. And that's what's kind of coming together into the R290 project. But with the phase out of HFCs, for us in mobile air conditioning, that's phasing down, not phasing out, but phasing down the amount of 134A that we'll be allowed to use. And then the phase out goes for years. It's not going to be finished until like 2037. And even then in 2037, we're going to get down to 15%. So it's never going away. It's going to phase down to a small amount, and then that's it. So,
And I guess they figure there's going to be a big enough percentage of YF cars out there and a small enough percentage of 134A cars that it'll kind of work out, right? Is that the theory?
yeah, pretty much. I mean, the average car age is 12 and a half some odd years. So the very last passenger car was it was either a 21 or a 22 Mazda. I want to say it was the MX-6. Is it the MX-6, the little SUV?
Yeah.
That was the last passenger car. Currently today, there are still 17 truck models, basically Ford and there's two Sprinters that still have 134A for the 25 model year. But those are like big F550s, F450s, big 3500 Sprinters. Everything else is converted to YF. So
Yeah, my E450 2025 has 134.
yeah. But no, there's no phase out for YF. It's kind of it's an EPA thing, right? So technically, chemically, 1234YF is an HFC. It's made up of hydrogen, fluorine, and carbon. So it is an HFC, but because of the chemical bond, it has an olefin bond, which because of the olefin bond is why 1234YF breaks down so fast in the atmosphere. It's called an HFO, a hydrofluoroolefin instead of a hydrofluorocarbon. Even though it is an HFC, we call it an HFO. And they specifically called it out as not being part of the phase down because it's EPA, right? EPA, they care about the environment, and they're like, 134A is an HFC. It's a full-on HFC, lasts in the environment for, I think it's 11 years. And we don't want that. We don't want chemicals being released into the atmosphere that are global warming potential or high global warming refrigerants that stay there forever. We'd rather use this HFO where even if it gets out, it breaks down in 7 days. So it's any
Well,
part
is
of
it
the
going to
process
be?
gone.
Is it going to be like like the old R12 days where there were actually propane and, regular hydrocarbons.
There's always going to be cheaters.
Yes, always going to be cheaters. I mean, we can all go to YouTube right now and search. There's dozens of videos of guys, putting
Putting it
literally
in.
out of a barbecue tank.
Right.
Who was that guy? There was some guy in Australia, a supposed professor who did it and blew himself up on video, trying to say how safe propane was as a refrigerant.
Yeah, and it does get really cold. I know when I barbecue, man, that tank can get
Oh, it gets
very
cold, yeah.
icy,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? But speaking of flammability, so when R1234YF came out, the big thing, you had to use a J2913 leak detector.
Yep.
Put the air coming down to the floor, stick it in there on the highest sensitivity and have that fan on low and with 15% of a charge in the system on the low side to see if there was a leak for flammability.
Right.
Now, if we're talking about retrofitting, taking 134A is going to be bye-bye and using 1234YF, isn't that a bit risky according to the government?
I mean, actually, wasn't that the whole reason they had to have different evaporators? Wasn't that the
Exactly.
whole thing?
DOT
Yeah.
approved evaporator.
Yeah, we wrote a standard. We wrote a standard back in 2009 called an SAE standard called J2842, which was basically specially constructed evaporators that would be stronger and more robust, out of an abundance of concern for safety, because we didn't want to have an evaporator that would leak YF into the passenger compartment due to the mild flammability of the refrigerant. There was a lot of concerns. We did a lot of the whole air conditioning industry. We did a lot of precautionary things back in the day. But as we've come to see, we've had no cases of YF being the cause of fires in cars. We did a lot of that. We did the SNAP application. What we didn't, Honeywell did the SNAP application, like you said, G, for using YF as a retrofit. So before I go into that whole thing, just to answer one of the questions in the chat, it says, will there be a drop-in or retro replacement for YF, or is that the 456? So I'll put this out on the table first. There's 3 retrofit refrigerants in play. There's 456A, which is a retrofit refrigerant for R134A. And then we also have R1234YF as a retrofit for 134A. And then the third one is R444A as a retrofit for 1234YF. And also all 3 of those SNAP applications have been found complete by the EPA. We're not allowed to use it yet. EPA actually has to go through the rulemaking process to write rules around using it. But once they do that, then we'll be allowed to, we'll get the official rules. I'll write an article about it. We'll put it all out there publicly about actually being allowed to use it. But yeah, then we'll be having YF as a retrofit for 134A. So
amazing.
Yeah.
So they sold us another bag of goods, with the DOT regulation on it. Now all of a sudden it's okay.
Well, I mean, it
More
all
like a
comes down
pile
to
of
that. Sorry, go ahead, Pierre.
I was saying more like a pile of something than a bill of goods, but yeah, whatever.
With a bag. Yeah.
What a shame.
But
So
it all
now
comes down
looks
to that
like
HFC reduction. They're saying that we can't use HFCs. So for us, we can't use 134A. So the price is going to go up. The supply, theoretically, the price should go up. The supply should go down. What's going to happen in 2026, 27, 28? We get less and less and less. People still want their air to work. The guys that are driving 2016 a Ford Fiesta, they're going to want that air. That car came with 134. They're going to want it to work. If we can't get it or 134 gets too much, what are you going to do? So that's why
And if
Yeah.
it's a hybrid or EV, you're going to need it.
right. Oh, yeah, because the engine or the motor, the electronics,
Electric motors,
run.
EVs, it's not going to work. Hybrid
Right.
or anything that's cooled with the refrigerant right now. So like active drive BMWs, because I had to say that because he's
Because
here,
a BMW guy, yeah,
you
right.
know.
Got to
Uh,
rub it in, yeah.
But
Think.
you know, all of them, going back to the Ford Escape, they used refrigerant, and it's going to be tough. Got a question on 454 from Dave. Do you see that?
Yeah. I was actually just looking it up right now just to see what it is. But I would have to, let me see if I can pull up a PT chart real quick on it. So it's a blend of YF and R32. I mean, chemically, we have concerns with the oil oil compatibility. It's a low to medium temperature applications. I'd have to look at the PT chart to see how it compares to 134. I don't think 454 was ever submitted for the CRP to look at for mobile AC use. So with the question saying, can 456 or can 454 be used in cars? Somebody probably will do it. It probably would work. I wouldn't recommend doing it. We have enough compatible refrigerants available to not have to go to 454. You know what I mean? Even for the simple fact that once this whole rulemaking process is over, you'll be able to use YF in 134A cars. I mean, that right there kind of makes it not worth trying to experiment with a 454A, just in case there was any issues. So.
I have a question. I know there was talk about this previously. Is it still thought that the 1234 YF prices will go down somewhat from here?
Yeah, and we speculate about that. It's a little tricky for me working for the trade association. Pricing is something that trade associations can't get into. It goes back to, way back in the early 1900s when there was antitrust with companies doing price fixing. But we still talk about it, just kind of on the side. What are we seeing happening? I think that like other things, like other commodities, like refrigerants, over time, the prices do seem to come down. 10 years ago, YF was $1,000, $1,100 a cylinder. Now it's below $5. Taking off my MACS shirt, yeah, I would expect that it's going to come down in price. There still are some patents on 1234 YF that have yet to expire. So if there was ever, for example, if any other company started making it, there'd be more competition. So stuff like that could happen in the future.
So we can expect it to basically follow normal market forces, right? That's kind of the expectation.
Yeah, that's kind of what I would think.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah,
one of
this
the
competition, the prices will be adjusted.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we talk about, what they call price parity, where there's really not a case today for, why would you put YF in a 134A car? It's like 3 times as expensive. I mean, unless you really care about the environmental issue of, a refrigerant that has a GWP of 4 compared to a GWP of 1430, why would you spend the money? You put 134A in. But when you hit price parity and 134A gets expensive and YF gets at or below the price of one, then it's $0.10 it's a no-brainer. Yeah, you would do it.
And actually the 1234 YF will probably be even more available. So that'll kick it over the edge too, right?
Yeah, especially if we start having supply constraints. That's a great point. Yeah. Because like I said, with the phase down, EPA is not going after us, the blue bottles, the blue cylinders of mobile AC refrigerant. It's all HFCs. So when you take a company like, National Refrigerants or Arkema or Cora or even Honeywell or Chemours, any of the big refrigerant manufacturers, Asahi, they look at their customer base and they say, okay, we make all kinds of stuff, 404, 407, 134, 456, whatever refrigerants they make, 454. The company, the manufacturer, is allotted a certain amount of HFCs by the EPA. So that manufacturer has to decide, what am I going to use my allowance for? Am I going to use my, say I'm allowed to make 100 pounds of refrigerant. Am I going to use that 100-pound allowance to make 134A for cars that sells at, I don't know, $400 a cylinder? Or am I going to use that allowance to make 404 that maybe that sells for $700? So it's something we don't think about that. We're so ingrained in mobile AC, like, oh, it's 134A, that's all there is in the world. But there's dozens of HFC refrigerants used in, supermarkets use 407. Your house uses 410A. And they're all different blends of HFCs. So those companies think about that.
Do you see the question? Is there actual data that HFCs damage the ozone layer?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the data that we have too. I mean, it's NASA is pretty much the agency, the government agency that does this studies. There's that. There's also, the EU, the European Union, has a space agency that has satellites that look at, the upper atmosphere. A lot of the data that we use, a lot of the images, a lot of the computer animations that we put in our Section 609 training program, we get from NASA because they have, computer models that show how the hole in the ozone layer expands and contracts over, during the course of a year. So it's, if you believe the science, if you follow the science and you read what NASA publishes, there's a lot of data where they measure the amount of ozone, the amount of CFCs in the atmosphere, the amount of HFCs in the atmosphere.
I believe JAXA, the Japanese space agency, just launched earlier this year a bunch of satellites to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They had a little bit of a different angle on what their orbits were. But I think everybody's really serious about that.
Yeah.
Getting good data.
Yeah.
But you go back to the old chlorine days of R12, the polar caps were supposedly melted, and then the last space shuttle that went up, all of a sudden they're back. Is it a money grab? DuPont owns the patent or owned the patent on R12, 134A, and has part of the patent on 1234YF. You think that has anything to do with it, or?
Oh, I mean, that's, that's.
Sorry, Steve.
No, there's been a lot of speculation about that. I mean, I think we've all heard the stories and the questions. I don't know. I mean, you would have to do, I would think you'd have to do a lot of patent research as far as the R12 thing goes, because, I'm not a patent attorney. Obviously, I'm a technician. But from my understanding, from what I've learned from doing this, working solely in air conditioning for all these years, these patents do have a time limit. So I don't remember the exact dates. Let's say, for example, I think there actually was a patent that was issued for YF back in 2002. I think that first patent expired in, it's about 10 years, 10, 15 years, 2014. There was a paper that was published back in 2018 that was tracking all of the patents on YF, patents around the world. There's patents in the US, Canada, Germany, Japan. It was when they were issued, when they expire. There was a whole chart. I think the last patents on YF expire in 29, but there might be one or two that go to 2031.
No,
It changes.
the smart game that a lot of these manufacturers do is they file a new patent with a minor change and call it new.
Call it new. Yeah.
And extend the lifetime of things. I'm not sure that'll work for them in this case, but that's the game.
Right.
Well, it could make other companies make it cheaper and maybe to be around longer, but if there's a government limit on how much could be made, that's going to be a different story. But
Right,
let's say,
Go ahead.
okay, Steve, I'm sorry. Don't me.
No, yeah, I was just going to say, and it's also, it's not only how much is made, it's how much the current phase down is how much we consume. It's consumption and production. So even there's some very large, going more into the weeds. There's some very large companies that were given allocation from EPA who don't actually manufacture refrigerant, but they import it from wherever. It could come from India, it could come from China, it come from Mexico. But even bringing it into the United States counts. So.
Now, changing gears.
Yeah.
Well, if we go with the 454 or 456 or any other numbers they come up with, that means we need a new machine, don't we?
Yeah, technically, because right now in mobile AC we have two federal laws that we work under. We still have the original U.S. Clean Air Act of 1990, where we fall under specifically Section 609 that says that we're required to use certified recovery only or recover recycling machines to service mobile AC. So that's federal law from, signed in 1990. So even though we have this phase down now and these new refrigerants coming out, we're still required to do it. There's sort of loopholes through and around that. It depends on when EPA writes their rule allowing the use. And if they do that and the refrigerant's on the market and you buy it and you have it, but EPA hasn't yet actually certified a recovery machine for that specific refrigerant, technically at that time you're allowed to take say a J2788 machine, convert it over to be used for that new refrigerant. There's like loopholes you can get through it and still be legal. But yeah, technically we're gonna, in the future, let's, go down the road 4 or 5 years. Let's say 444, for example. Let's say that's a really popular retrofit refrigerant. You might be able to go to a company like Texa, for example. Texa has been working with Cora on a triple R machine for 444A. So at the time when all the final rules come out and the refrigerant product is available, I don't know, at your local auto parts store, you might be able to go to Texa and buy who knows what they'll call it, maybe the 760 444. Maybe they'll have a new number for the machine. A charge card.
And now, okay, so different equipment, more money.
Yes. Oh, of
big
course.
confusion. How do you know, let's say if I'm a consumer and I get my car repaired at, repair shop A, and they use 454. Now I'm, let's say, traveling to Florida. Where am I going to find another guy with 454A? Maybe he has a totally different machine,
Right.
right?
Well,
And then I have another question.
Yep.
I mean, that's, to me, that seems to be crazy if they come out with too many refrigerants. How do you know what machine to actually purchase? Right? And are these refrigerants, 454, 456, are they flammable?
Okay.
Because I know they are.
Yeah,
Are
that's a
they
great
flammable? I
question.
mean, I meant to say to you, I didn't hear you. Are they flammable is my question. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So 456, I'm sorry. Yeah. 456A is not. It's an A2. Um, no, I'm sorry. It's an A1 refrigerant, so it's just like 134A, not flammable. 444A is an A2L, so it's mildly flammable, just like YF. And then, of course, YF is A2L mild.
Like a flamethrower.
Well, it's
I put a match to it years ago and it went,
yeah. I mean, so my counterpart, so, for the air conditioning industry, there's two big trade associations. There's MACS here in the US, and then over in Australia, there's an air conditioning association called VASA. And there's a guy there that does basically the same job as me over at VASA. And they did some YouTube videos where they lit refrigerants up. They put R12 with a dispensing nozzle, lit it up on fire, doesn't burn. They put R290. They did 12 134A, YF, and R290.
well, they all burn at a certain temperature because they're a carbon.
Yeah, they all burn. YF burns. What they say about YF is it can't propagate its own flame. So once you remove the ignition source, YF goes out. It can't sustain a flame. It can't burn on its own. So as long as you give it a light, as long as you give it a spark, some ignition, you'll get that flamethrower torch.
Right.
But once you pull the lighter, it's not like hairspray. You light hairspray up, it goes, because the propellant in hairspray is R152A, which is an A2. Flammable refrigerant, burns. So it'll propagate its own flame, but 444 and YF will not. Right. What was
So
your
on
other
a bit of a
question?
tangent,
Okay,
is
go
carbon
ahead.
dioxide dead as a refrigerant?
Actually, no. And yeah,
Greenhouse
something,
gas.
What's wrong with
yeah,
it? But it's
something,
number one, it's
something really interesting about that. So I was up in Montreal last summer for one of the Montreal Protocol meetings. And, just out of the blue, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to the Volkswagen dealer. So I went to Boucherville outside of Montreal. I went to the Volkswagen dealer and I went inside, and they had two ID4s on the showroom floor, the little electric crossover. And I just asked the guy, I'm like, mind if I open the hood and look around? He's like, sure, go ahead. Opened it up, R290 system, or R744 system. It's an electric car, so I turned it on. And I confirmed one thing I heard. When you turn on an electric car with CO2 and you put the air on, that thing got cold like that. I mean, it was seconds, and it had ice cold air blowing out of the dashboard, which, I mean, this was July, middle of the summer, hot as could be outside. And I was shocked at how fast it got cold.
But does it sustain that cold? Because didn't we have tests out in Arizona
Yes.
where it did not seem to do as well?
Right. So yeah, that's what's interesting. So they actually manufacture the ID4 at the Volkswagen plant in Memphis. It's
Oh,
not
wow.
Memphis. It's outside of Memphis in Tennessee. So they manufacture it in the U.S. They fill it with CO2, and then they ship them up to Canada. Because Canada has its very mild climate, it really doesn't get hot. Very few weeks during the absolute middle of the summer, but you never get that intense very dry heat like you do in Arizona. So supposedly, I've never driven the car long-term testing, but supposedly 744 works great up there in Canada. The other thing I heard, which I have not confirmed, and I would love to find this out, Audi dealers in the US, what is that machine called? There is a German, no, it's either a German or an Italian R744 machine is on the dealer required tool list
Wow.
for Audi in the US. So I'm like, if they're not selling 744 cars in the US, why are you making this machine be a required tool at the dealer?
They're probably going to have them come in. I mean, the Mercedes has been doing that over in Europe for a while.
I thought maybe they wanted, there's less Audi dealers than there is VW. So maybe for the Canadian customer with the ID4 that drives into the US, say they have an emergency, oh, my air's not working, you can find your closest Audi dealer and get your system serviced. I don't know. I was also thinking maybe the Audi version of the ID4, I forget what they call that, that maybe they would have that car sold at the Audi dealers in the US as a test fleet. But I haven't seen it, so.
Be interesting.
Oh, and Jim Wilson just put down for Canadian cars in the States, northern states. So yeah, maybe New York. Maybe they'll have them. Maybe they'll have them like in New Hampshire or Vermont. Maybe they'll be selling them.
I could see Maine and, Minnesota, some of the real colder places, the Dakotas, all the cold areas. But once you start getting down, even here in New York, it's hot.
It's hot.
We were 90 today, but we weren't 110 like, Houston would be, right?
Right. And forget about Phoenix. I mean, that's brutal.
Maybe they could sell them in Plattsburgh,
Yeah, Plattsburgh. Yeah.
Rochester.
So you had a question. Is ammonia still used as a refrigerant? I know years back they did.
Yeah, actually my, I have an very old, a 96, I think it is, travel trailer. And the refrigerator in that has an ammonia. It's an ammonia refrigerator. But yeah, ammonia is still a thing. Ammonia is basically only used in cold chain. So like cold storage warehousing, like Philadelphia, for example, down by the stadiums, where the football stadiums, down there, there's the food district in the southeast part of Philadelphia, where all the food comes over on the ships, and a lot of those cold storage warehouses, they're ammonia systems. But that whole part of the city is there's very little residential there, and it's because of the ammonia. There's thousands of pounds of ammonia installed in those systems there, and they do that on purpose so that if you had an ammonia leak, I mean, ammonia is highly, highly toxic.
Everybody's dead.
Yeah. So,
Everybody downwind is dead.
right.
Yeah. And
So
very flammable.
Yeah.
Let's not put that in the suburbs. Yeah. And there's actually, so ammonia systems are covered under 608 of the Clean Air Act. And there's a special certifications for technicians that work on ammonia systems.
Wow.
Yeah. It's because of the toxicity. So.
That's crazy.
At least you can see what's killing you.
Yeah. And it
You'll
says,
smell it
It's
first.
like a green cloud.
and Dean wrote, I think ice rinks are also done with ammonia. But I don't think the systems are as large as, the cold storage. The cold storage, I mean, they're warehouses that are freezers. So they're very
gigantic warehouses. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I believe they took them out of most refrigerators, the ammonia, because of the flammability
And the poisonous nature of
and
it.
poisonous. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. My grandmother's refrigerator, I mean, I remember that thing back in the 1980s. That was an ammonia refrigerator.
Yeah. We had actually, my grandmother's refrigerator blew up and went on fire.
Did it?
Yeah.
I think it was a
Thank God
Frigidaire.
everyone got out okay. And then we
Really?
still had one. It was a wooden box at GE with
Wow.
a big compressor up top. Should have kept it. That was ammonia in
That's a
there as well.
collector's item
It
today.
is.
Yeah.
But back then it was junk.
Yes, exactly.
It was like Ralph Cramden's ice spot.
So I
Okay,
mean,
so-
without really knowing, I mean, what do I, for future air conditioning? I mean, I think YF as a retrofit into 134A it's kind of a no-brainer. I mean, we all know it. We know both refrigerants. We've all been working with we've been working with them for years and years. We know that all of the precautions we built into the systems for the mild flammability was out of an abundance of caution that never panned out to be, I don't want to say as required as we thought, but we put a lot of safety into it and we've never had any problems. So, but I really do think there's also a strong use case for some of these other refrigerants like 444 and 456A. I mean, back in the old days, one of the refrigerant products that we used to replace R12 was called Avalanche. It was my boss, there was back in the 90s, some guy from one of the parts stores driving by in a truck, like, hey, I got these bottles here, drop in for 12, whatever the price was. My boss bought into it and we used it for years. I can see the same thing happening. I can see a shop,
I'd agree.
partnering
I mean,
up.
there was a lot of junk around. Freeze 12, OZ 12.
Yeah,
Some of it was just propane. And, when they had the same fittings, the contamination in the machines. And see, that's going to be another thing. So I had a couple of students call me up and say, well, I got an extra 134 machine. I'm going to switch it over to a 1234 machine. I was
yeah,
like, well, you better check the certification. It's not approved for flammable refrigerant.
right. Yeah, and that was one of the loopholes because EPA, we had that original requirement for recovery machines from the Clean Air Act, and then EPA allowed us to use YF. But there was a period of time I don't think they wrote the rule about YF machines until 2019. So we had cars, geez, I mean, the first Cadillac was 2012. 2013 model came out in 12. Chrysler came out real big in 15. So 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. And then they wrote the rule saying, hey, now you got to use a J2843 machine specifically for YF. But in those intervening years, there was no rule saying you had to use an SAE 2843 machine. But you had to use a machine. So technically you could have taken an old 2099 machine or 2788 machine and convert it over and use it for YF, and it was legal because there was no rule saying you had to, and blah blah blah. But
Legal, but is it safe?
Right.
I have two other questions for you.
Sure.
So 134A with about 8 pounds of air pressure can become a little bit of a firecracker, let's say.
Yes.
Are any of the new refrigerants like that where they can blow up?
Yeah, I mean, so anytime you have an HFC, it's with a fluorinated refrigerant in a vessel in a closed system,
Containment area.
with oxygen, pressurized with oxygen, it can become combustible. So we recommend just straight up, don't use shop air to pressure test mobile AC. It was something we did. I mean, back when I was a kid in the late 80s, we had an air conditioning toolbox in the shop, and we had all sorts of adapters, hook the shop air line up to the R12 connector and screw it on, and you'd pressure test it, spray soap bubbles. But with 134 having fluorine instead of chlorine, it was a big no-no. So we just blanket say, don't do that. If you want to use something that's not refrigerant to pressure test, we'll recommend using nitrogen or
CO2.
using like a forming gas, CO2, right?
Foaming
Bernie's
gas
tool.
is like a big pain in the ass to get. You know, I ran out of it, and Air Gas owns just about every place that you can get a bottle of
They're all
something.
around us,
And
yeah.
they're like, well,
Yeah.
we don't have any in the 3 states next to you. When we
Yeah.
make it, we'll get back to you.
Yeah.
Really? So that kind of kills, you know, Robin Air makes a nice tool, but if you can't get the foaming gas, it does work somewhat with nitrogen, which I used to use years back and still will use, but CO2, the bullseye stuff, is killer.
Yeah.
People just got to remember not to recover it in their machine.
Yes.
Any of that stuff, do not recover it. Since it's only CO2, put it right back where it came from. Right?
Yeah. And I also heard that GM approved that GM added Bernie's tool to their approved tool list.
That's correct.
Yes.
Yeah, Bullseye is approved by GM. There are a couple of other OEs looking at it, especially with all the EVs or hybrid systems.
Right.
You know, you look at some of those new Toyotas now, but Mr. Toyota, before he retired, you know, told them to kind of stay with plug-in hybrids. And Mary Barry keeps saying she's going to come back with the Volt type setup, but she hasn't done that yet.
Yeah.
And these systems, you know, to cool those batteries, you're going to be using refrigerant and quite a bit of it. You know, just look at everything there to keep those batteries at a stable temperature, refrigerant. And when you have a leak, that's the biggie.
Yeah.
And there's so many things out there. One guy I know who's a good tech, he said, well, he met with a guy from Tesla. And when we put a Tesla up, we put the pucks underneath so you don't bend that battery case.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And he's, you don't have to do that.
Bullshit.
So, you know, as the first thing I came out of my mouth to him, I said, you should have called BS on that guy big time.
I bought the pucks for my own personal, well, of course I have a lift at home, but the guy who put the wrapping, the clear wrap on the front of the car, after a long discussion with me before he touched the car, he put a jack under it and damaged the rocker panels. If he had been in a little more, he would have damaged the battery.
And that's why you
Car had
see,
100 miles on it.
yeah, that's why you see a lot of battery fires because of people not jacking it up correctly. You know, but now, I guess the other comment or question I had for you, we got hold it off. We went over the equipment.
Yep.
The fittings are going to be unique fittings. How many approved unique fittings are they going to be?
Oh boy. Fittings is a huge
Okay.
topic of discussion. We actually had a young engineer, a very bright young lady from Virginia that was working at Schrader Pacific. You know, Schrader valves, right?
Schrader, sure.
Yeah, Schrader is a thing. It's an actual company. They manufacture AC service ports and what we call Schrader valves, the valve cores, down in Virginia. And she has been one of the lead engineers on coming up with these new geometries for fittings. Because one of the questions in the chat says, YF is a drop-in for 134. Do you have to change the fittings? And the answer is yes. So that's kind of an easy one. You know, 134A has been a standard connector for 25 years. YF has been standard for 15, 16 years. But so, you know, so the adapter fitting for that, which Aircept is one of the companies that's making it, will be something like a quick disconnect. You'll take a car with 134A, take the cap off, suck the 134A out. You'll put this adapter fitting, will go onto the service port, onto that quick couple, and then there's a lock ring that you pull down. And now that'll lock the adapter onto the 134A port. And then you'll have a YF port on top of the 134A port. I wish I had a prop here to show you what they look like.
Now, how about if the port is messed up? Because that used to happen on R12 and we used to put those saddle valves on,
Oh,
sort of
yeah,
like for commercial AC.
right.
Is that going to be allowable?
Well, I don't think it would be disallowed. Aircept makes, they actually make valves, service ports that are with their compression fittings. So, say for example, you had a car with 134A and it had a damaged high side port. You could abandon it. You could leave it there. Make sure the valve core is in it and the cap is on, and you could cut the line and then put an Aircept, compression fitting YF port into that line, and then convert the car over from 134 to YF. Or how
Not a saddle, but a chopped in the middle. Right.
yeah. Or how some of those Schrader actually calls them it's called a primary seal, but it's those service ports that have a little rubber ball in them. You know what I'm talking about? There's only a certain number of models that had it. It's usually on the high side. Ford used them on some high and low side, but they're weird. You look down inside of them, it's not like a little metal Schrader valve. It's like a rubber ball valve. So those are actually threaded in, and they have there's an 8-sided socket that's used to take them out.
We have it.
Yeah. So if you wanted to, if you had a 134A car with a primary seal port, you could unscrew that YF or unscrew the 134A connector and put in
And put YF.
because it's the same thread. Right. So there's ways around it. You could do it there's ways around everything, right? But there's also, like for 444, there's a similar adapter fitting that same deal. You would take the YF out of take the cap off, suck the YF out, do whatever you're going to do to repair or whatever, and then put this adapter port, pops onto the YF service port with the lock ring. But the difference is 134A and YF are quick couples, pull the ring up and just stick it on. 444 is a screw on. It's a big threaded connector that you screw on, and then it has a valve on it. It's kind of cool. It's big, but the prototypes I saw, it's just those were one-off machined out of brass. They were really nice. I'm like, I'm just looking at this thing. I'm like, what is this? Like a $90 connector? This is beautiful. But it was a prototype.
And how long is it going to last? And can you get it in tight spots?
I was just about to say that. I can think of a lot of cars where that wouldn't fit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we got a question, I think from Volt. Why are all 1234 YF machines? He's basically saying a piece of duty.
Yeah. Point of
to be
sale?
polite.
You want to say point of sale?
Why are you having a problem with your machine? What type of problems?
Yeah.
I mean, I have 2 YF machines. No problem if you follow the directions on the machine. If you connect hoses when you shouldn't connect hoses, you will get into a lock state.
Yeah.
Because you remember, if it has, and all the new machines, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, but all the new J-spec, the identifier is in it, no longer a option of either USB or Bluetooth.
Well, the option is still in the standard.
It's still in the standard, okay.
Yeah, the option's in 2843 and in 3030 for the dual machine. But what I've heard is, there have only ever been, I think it's less than 100 machines that were ever manufactured without a built-in identity. They all have an identifier. There's very few that have ever been sold that don't.
Now, one thing that kind of stinks, my Snap-on machine locked out because the cell you see that little round thing right there under that screen behind you? Yep. And of all people, it's made by Neutronics. This little thing right here, and it locked the whole machine up. And all
Yeah,
it
so the
is
sensor.
an air sensor.
Yep.
Okay. You know, selling for over $600. Thank God I had another machine. And thank God my Snap-on guy had this. So the next day was back in business, able to use it.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I wish they gave you a warning on the machine like they do for filters and oil, saying, hey, your sensor is starting to go. Now, my CPS machine, I don't know, we've been using it for years upon years. Did filter changes the whole bit. That never came up. This came up. We didn't even do a filter change yet or an oil change, but that went
Yeah.
and made the machine totally useless. So I could see the guy's probably frustration if he had a problem with something like that.
Yeah, and the other thing with YF, I mean, we take a lot of we run a tech line at MACS, and we take a lot of hasn't been much lately, but we have taken a lot of calls about the YF machines. Like you said, G, if you follow the process, if you follow the manual, and go step by step with what the machine wants you to do, because there's a learning curve for YF because of all the definability and the safety, the leak testing, the built-in identifier. It takes a lot longer.
Right, 15% of a charge. I think I timed it somewhere 20 to 20 some odd minutes, just under 30 minutes longer. Because
Yeah.
remember, you got that 10-minute mandatory vacuum,
Yep.
right? And there's nothing you can do about it. Then you're going to have the 15% charge put in. Then you got to play with your 2913 leak detector. There's another 5-10 minutes of that stuff.
And then in
It just takes
reality,
long.
since you can't just sit there babysitting it, you're doing something else and you're not going to get back to it right away. And, that's an additional time and a
So,
pay clock.
yeah, we charge more money for, YF. We have to because it's more time. So it's a totally different price besides the refrigerant being different.
Right.
There's a difference there.
Right.
Oh, Robin Air gives you a message before the sensor goes out. Problem I see is that the machines don't get used enough for all shops to see the messages. Well, okay. It's a
So the
possibility. I
message
didn't
might
see
have
the
come up
machine.
and nobody saw it.
Well, you gotta remember, I'm not the only guy using it.
Yeah, of course.
So it was like the boss got stuck with that one.
And there's another question about fabricating service hoses to convert a machine. And yeah, I don't think we've gotten questions about that too. I don't think any of the companies make a kit so that you can convert your machine over. But depending on your machine model, like some of them have, I'm just thinking out loud here. Like if you had a 134A machine and you wanted to convert it to be used with 456A, and 456 will have its own unique service port, its own unique fitting. If the hose where the hose connects into the machine, if it's external, you should be able to just take that out and use, just buy an off-the-shelf hose if you wanted to convert it and have a separate set of line hoses.
I'm sure there's someone on Amazon that sells.
Yeah.
You make it fit hose.
Or some
Yes.
Chinese company that sends it straight over.
Yeah.
But the only one I know that has, I'm going to say, in my opinion, super easy converting from one to the other is the Texa machine. And there's no ads. I don't promote any machine over another. But I just worked with a Texa. I think it was a 780 or 760 model. And it's a dual machine. So it's 134A and YF. They have one set of hoses coming out. And then about 6 inches before the coupler, there's a quick disconnect on the line. Like
Nice.
a little chrome quick disconnect. You pop it off, take that connector, your 134A service port adapter, take that section out, hook up your YF. Now you're done. Just back and forth. I mean, it was like super easy. Just pop them off, pop on the new ones. You're done.
Now you bring up another point. Machines that do both, and if they don't have two separate tanks, so like my CPS machine,
Yes.
it's kind of a nightmare where you're going to lose some refrigerant when you switch from one to the other.
Yeah, you got to pull the one tank. It's got that self-clearing process where it dumps all the refrigerant into the tank. And you got to disconnect. You're going to lose during the disconnect a little bit.
Yeah, you're going to lose.
You got to swap the tank out, turn it back on. So when we ran here at MACS back in 2018, we ran the SAE test. It was the test for the new test vehicle. So here's some useless air conditioning trivia. Every air conditioning machine built between 2007 and 2018, they were all tested on a 2011 Chevy or a Chevy Suburban, to get their certification. The SAE group thought the Chevy Suburban having a front system with an orifice tube and an accumulator, and also a rear system with an expansion valve, that was the most hardest system for a recovery machine to do a full evacuation on.
Sure, because
I can see that.
those accumulators freeze up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They need to get MACS certified
Yeah.
and get the book with the little trick about opening the hood up.
Yeah. And we wanted the machines to be able to pull 95% of the charge within 30 minutes with no outside help, no additional heat, no nothing. Bring that Suburban into the shop, straight off the street, hook up to the machine, suck 95% of the charge out within 30 minutes, and be accurate, accurate to within plus or minus a half an ounce. So we thought that's the hard. So anyway, we used the Suburban for all those years. And then when we came out with the YF machines and they were going through EPA cert, we're like, these Suburbans it was actually the 09 to 11. Whenever the Suburban changed, the platform changed, I think in 2011, and there was a new model Suburban that came out, I think in 11 or 12. So the 09 to 11 Suburban was the test vehicle. And in 2019, 2020, it's like, we can't find these, they're hard to come by. So we wanted a newer, more modern car. And the committee decided on, I don't know why they picked this, but they picked the 2018 Pacifica Hybrid.
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
I know. I'm like, there's not a whole lot of in Pacifica. Yeah, there's a lot.
Not at all.
There's not a lot of
Government
hybrid.
agencies usually run
And there's a lot fewer of them now.
Yeah.
So anyway, we
Brains
had
rotten out. Ugh.
and
Not
we
a
had
good
to
feeling.
test in 2018. We had to test all the current recovery machines on the Pacifica Hybrid and the Prius Prime. So I had to convert that CPS machine like 9 times.
So you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, Madon, let me tell you. Yeah,
I feel for you.
yeah.
I know that feeling.
Yeah.
I
But
actually had
you get used to it.
I
You do
trained
it a
some of
couple
their
times,
people.
You get used to it.
Teresa came up here, or T as we call her,
Yeah.
came up here with people that I had to train, and I'm like, all right, get ready to lose stuff.
I thought I got pretty good at it. You know what I mean? I had to do it so many times.
Yeah, but it's time
Right.
consuming too.
It's different.
I would say, I suggest to, my students, you're gonna buy a machine for one and not for both. Buy a YF machine and go buy a separate machine.
Yeah. And that's what most people, vast majority,
What we also see out here in the field, and I know you have written about this, is people don't check their scales.
Yeah.
They bounce the thing in and out. I mean, before they repaved my parking lot, it was a little bouncy out there. Not the worst, but wheeling the machine out, you're shaking that scale pretty bad.
Yeah.
And if you don't look to check that thing, most people lost their weights. They have no clue.
After a month.
Yeah. Some threw it out. Go, oh, what's this thing? I don't need it. Never read the book. It's
Right.
bye-bye.
Yeah.
You know, the 33 pennies, I did when some guy asked me, well, what year was the penny made? Because
Yeah.
it's a different way to go, dude. Roughly about 33 pennies is about 3 ounces.
Yeah.
You know, but if your machine, and this is what I also noticed, some of the machines, like the Snap-on one, not made here, I think it's an Italian company that actually makes them, they will not allow you to adjust it or tell you how to adjust it. You know, there's no screw or Allen key. They want you to call service
Oh, yeah. And have them come out and
Turn the screw,
and turn the
turn the
screw.
screw. Yeah.
You know,
literally and figuratively.
you
I
can do
think
it yourself.
Mala for a couple years, Mala was using like a 54 millimeter ball bearing was their test weight.
Yeah.
That silver ball. And I was
The silver
just
ball.
talking to one of the Mala service tech guys from, when they were used to be over in York, Pennsylvania. And
Yeah,
I'm like, what is this? How did you guys? He's like, oh, that. He's like, it's a ball bearing. You buy them on Granger or McMaster Car. I'm like, really? Like, yeah, that's where we got them from.
I tell you, I like the way they were the first machine, at least that I seen. You see a lot more than me, but we did something with Peter Cole up here where that machine opens like a hood of a car
Yeah,
and everything is accessible.
that's the Mala.
Every machine should be made like that.
Yeah, those are nice. Yeah,
That is really nice.
I want to get one of them here. They were actually supposed to send me one. I never called them back. I got to get them to send me one.
It's definitely a nice machine. I'm not sure how good it works. What's your recommendation on the CFMs for a vacuum pump?
Vacuum is a funny thing. I mean, everyone, it's like you said with, more is better, like what you said about oil and dye. So I guess everyone, if you could afford it, everyone would want to get like a 6 CFM dual stage, a big vacuum pump. The funny thing about vacuum is what your biggest limiting factor is the hole that you're trying to suck the vacuum through. So when you're trying to pull a vacuum on a system that has its Schrader valves installed, those Schrader valves, when you open them, that restriction is huge. So if you ever study it, if you ever look, go check the vacuum pump that's built into your recovery machine. And it's probably like I want to say a 1.5 CFM.
Who's going to say that? Because that's what I see, 1.5 to 2.
Yeah, they're
Sometimes
not
3
big.
if you're lucky. They don't really put big ones in.
No, they're not that big. And I've asked a couple, the actual engineer guys that work for Ritchie Engineering, like Yellow Jacket and Master,
Right, Yellow Jacket.
Rob and Air.
Good piece. Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, it doesn't matter. They're like, you can put this, they said you can put a 6 CFM vacuum pump on the same car as a 1.5, and you are not going to pull vacuum any faster because of the restriction caused by the valve core.
Wow.
It's not worth the money. And,
That's it. Because there is a big difference in price.
oh, it's huge. Yeah, it's huge. I mean, if you're working on a school bus, maybe you want to spend the money. Those just volumetrically, they're so big.
Right.
Maybe it's worth spending the money on something, especially if you're a field guy and, time is of the essence. Those guys also usually do nitrogen purging. So, you're going to pull the valve cores out and actually burst nitrogen through, you'll pull a vacuum on the high and low side, then you disconnect the high side, burst nitrogen through it, suck it all the way around, you're trying to evacuate, 86 feet of hose. It's not like
Right.
a car that's tiny
Right.
little, holds a pound.
Another question. Is it better to charge, because all the machines, obviously, you can pick, charge high side, low side, or both sides?
Right.
What is the preferred method?
So I always do it on both. I leave it, the machines default to both. I do it on both. That's another topic we could debate all day long.
Now, if it's a machine that doesn't shut the high side off and the charge is not going in, you're going to need to suck from the low side, right?
Right, right. So actually three things on that. As far as how, as
Knew
far
I'd
as
get
how
going
you,
on it.
as far as how you put the refrigerant in, I don't really think it matters if you charge it on both. I mean, you're gonna charge, the machines typically are charging liquid. So there's a school of thought that you should only ever put the liquid in. Yeah, and there's schools of thought on both sides. Only ever put the liquid on the high. Only ever put liquid on the low. You don't want to liquid slug the compressor. Blah 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 blah. But then there's the whole thing of refrigerant migration. At any given time, any of our cars, literally outside in the parking lot right now, the refrigerant is moving through the system. You don't always have liquid on the high side or liquid in the liquid line and vapor in the suction. It doesn't work that way. It's moving around. That's one thing. Then
Well, that's how like the ejector system sort of works off that principle, right? With the Venturi,
right,
moving the refrigerant.
moving the refrigerant, and then you've got a lot of the car manufacturers now, to prevent liquid slugging of the compressor, will default to pulsing the compressor clutch during engine crank, so that, I mean, you don't even know it's happening. I don't know, maybe if you had like a high-speed camera and you watch the clutch, maybe you'd see the clutch engage and doing this during crank. But they do that on purpose to pump any liquid out of the cylinders while the what is engine crank running at, like 300 RPM, really slow.
Couple of 300 RPM, yeah, whatever it is.
Yeah,
Wow.
really slow.
That's a smart strategy, actually. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, GM, when they used to throw belts, had a strategy after they had an issue to program it to make sure when you started it up, the compressor was on, so you
Yeah.
didn't flop the
So you
belt
can load
out.
the belt immediately, right?
Those low slung Denso compressors on the Chevy vans,
Remember?
Chevy pickups. Yep. Yeah.
Oh man,
Um,
I tell you, air condition is a great thing to work on.
yeah.
Easy money, in my opinion. It's kind of nice. In all honesty, the thing that I think a lot of techs make a mistake topping off.
Yeah.
They see it's low and go, oh, I'm just going to add.
Yeah, a little bit.
And
Without
I
taking
used,
anything
yeah,
out.
I used to do that years back. Go from the low side and go, yeah, it's not that cold. Suck some in, feels cold enough. Check the temperature, 30-degree difference, ship it.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you can't do that on these cars.
No.
Yeah. The
First of all, why
charge
is it-
tolerance is so tight.
Right. The margin is tight.
Yeah.
That is tough. And
Yeah.
how about flushing the system?
Yeah, we just wrote another essay. I do a lot of SAE work. We wrote a new SAE standard called 3126. It's best practices for servicing off-highway construction and agricultural equipment, which have mobile AC systems. Really not much any different than you'd see in a Ford.
Just a lot bigger.
Just gigantic, right?
Yeah, just the machines are big, but the systems are the same pretty much. And we did flushing was a big topic in there, and we listed out all the components. And basically, the only thing you can flush is a line and a hose. Can't flush
That's what it boils
compressors.
down to, right? Condensers and
compressors.
evaporators,
Not
they're
anymore.
so small.
Yeah, not anymore.
Yeah,
Years back, I used to flush. And then again, how much you flush. Did you put 16 ounces of flush in? And did you get that out?
Did you get
And
it
how
all
much
out?
oil did you get out?
right.
And where did it come from?
Right.
So leads up to my next question. Should you put oil in each component that you put in the vehicle?
So yeah, oil charge is another. I mean, all these questions are great. We could debate. You could have roundtables on each one of these questions. We could talk for hours on each one. So we
Sorry,
always tout the company line. Follow the OE. Honda. Generally, all the Honda cars, in their service information, they tell you, for example, if you replace the condenser, you should put 1 ounce in. whatever it says. If you're replacing the evaporator, you should put in whatever. If you're changing a hose, you should put in whatever. We always say to oil balance. So whatever you take out, if you're changing the compressor, take the old compressor off, drain all the oil out. Whatever came out, you got to put that same amount of new, clean, fresh oil back in, whatever the OE calls for. But
Well, same with the accumulator, right? If it takes an
Yeah.
ounce, 2 ounce, whatever.
Of course,
You know-
all of that is assuming it had the right amount to start with. So we get back to the DIY or the shops that added more of not just refrigerant topping up with oil. How do you know that? You can't really tell, right?
no, we don't have
And-
dipsticks, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
Those are gone.
And actually, one of the which we don't have a lot of historical data yet on this, but somewhere around 17, 18, 19, we started to see a couple things. 15, 16, we started seeing almost every compressor now has an electronically controlled variable. They're electronically controlled variable displacement compressors. So they have electronic control valves in the rear head controlling
Right.
displacement, not the mechanical valves. The other thing is, since about 19, more and more and more compressors have oil separators built into the discharge port. So if you look, and I did a whole story on this, I did a whole training classes on it. If you look back through, pick your favorite service info, All Data, Mitchell, whatever, and look at what was the oil charge in a 1995 F-150? What was it in 2001? What was it in 2007, in 2012, in 2015, 2019? That oil charge went from, 8 ounces back in the 90s. I think the 2019 F-150 is like 2.7 ounces of oil. That's like this much oil for the entire system charge.
Wow. But when they say charge, is there any oil in the condenser or the evaporator to start? Are they adding that on top of it?
There's a minuscule amount of oil, it's called OIC, oil in circulation. There's like a thin film of oil. It's just, it's a physical property of how refrigerant and oil flows through the system. You can't have 100% oil retention in the compressor. You're always going to have a thin film of oil surrounding the entire outside of the tube, hose, heat exchanger, whatever. The refrigerant's always going to pull a thin film of oil. So if you think about, if you shrunk yourself down and you were walking around inside the pipes of an air conditioner, all around your walls, there'd be a thin layer of oil as the refrigerant flows, but there's not much. I mean, you could have 10% oil in circulation. So if you have how do I even make this easy math? If you have a 3 ounce oil charge from dry, 3 ounces of oil, you'll have 0.3 ounces of oil in circulation. I mean, it's
and not much oil circulates in 134A or 1234YF compared to the old R12 days.
Oh yeah, I mean, you could have 25% oil retention and 75%. You have so much oil sitting in the accumulator in those systems. Where today there's very little.
Back then they used to tell us that the oil in R12s was part of the sealing of the hoses and the connections.
that was
Yes.
the barrier.
That was the barrier.
That was the barrier. Yeah.
Yeah. That's long dead now.
But when you see oil in a condenser or a receiver dryer or accumulator, it holds that extra refrigerant there as well. It seems.
Oh, you mean like bubbles in the oil type
Yeah.
of thing, right?
Yeah. So, we get a lot of cars in using the AirSep tool where we can see what the compressor is doing or what the oil or the dye and every manufacturer puts a dye in there, that I've seen at least. And you can see if that compressor is actually working or not working. And with some of them, I mean, we pulled so much oil, it's scary.
Yeah.
Because 134A machines, and thank God, no 1234YF machine has an oiler. Guys are too lazy to take the caulk gun or the screw gun to put oil in.
Yeah.
But when they have the bottle, they press that button.
They hit the button, right?
And
Every time.
it's really bad. Too much oil. It's going to not make it colder. It's going to make it warmer.
Yeah, and that's something I struggle with. I really like automatic oil injection. No, maybe not automatic. I really like my one Mala 134 machine has oil injection on board, and I just like when after you pull vacuum, if you have
You can get it in.
oil, you can just go in, crack the knob, watch the oil go out, and then that oil gets flushed in with the liquid charge. To me, it's very easy. SAE absolutely will not allow. The committee is dead set against no automatic, no onboard oil injection on 2843 for YF.
Yeah, but it's not hard to go on the low side.
No, it's not hard. It's
Just
not
did
hard.
one the other day.
I just like it for the convenience. They're very concerned, especially with the low oil charge compressors. They're concerned people are going to way overcharge, or that people are going to use a universal oil and put the wrong type of oil in the system.
And that'll kill that compressor.
That's what they're worried about. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So if the system is low on refrigerant, what's the right recommendation of how much oil / dye, whether it be PEG or POE, that should be put in?
if it comes in low,
Well, let's say you got close to no charge left.
You gotta
Okay.
find the leak.
You found the leak in condenser. It's a Honda, the lower left corner, leaking like a son of a gun as usual.
yeah, oil all over
By the
the
way, you
place.
do warranty some of them.
Yeah,
So
Oil
just a
all
tidbit
over.
out there.
yeah. That's it's hard to have a steadfast rule on that. When I teach best practices class, I like to tell guys that it's something that we have to use with our experience as technicians. All the cars that we've seen over time, how much you're going to put in and when, under what circumstances. Like if there's a lot of times when refrigerant will leak out and not carry oil with it. There's other times when, like you said, you'll have a leaking condenser and the condenser is blasted with oil. So what do? You look at the OE, and the OE might say, hey, if you're putting a condenser on, put 2 ounces in. And then you look at it and say, well, the factory oil charge was 8 ounces. Is this an older car? Is the refrigerant charge, is the charge curve large? Is the charge curve small? Do I think I can get away with putting in 3 ounces? You know what I mean? Is it a Ford or a Ford or a Honda or a Toyota that has a low charge compressor? I don't want to put in 2 ounces if the compressor only takes 3 when it's dry. I might want to put in a half an ounce. So
That's good. Now, do you recommend using a dye with the oil?
Absolutely. And dye is a tricky thing too, because even one of our biggest MACS members, the dye manufacturer, Tracer Products out of Long Island. Tracer says that if the vehicle came with dye from the factory, chances are you're probably not going to have to add dye to that system. The dye, the amount of dye that they put in at the factory should last the life of the vehicle, unless you've had like catastrophic major oil loss.
Blew a hose off, blew something.
Yeah, something where you lost a lot of oil. But even then, I think the full, like if you were adding, like say brand new system completely dry, the amount of oil or the amount of dye you add is like 1/4 ounce. Like a little bit of dye goes a long way. And if you add too much dye, it works in reverse. You will get a dimmer glow from your UV light if you have too much dye in the system.
Oh,
Because-
that's interesting.
That is interesting.
You know, Eric, I don't know if Eric's on, but he has a whole rant about this. And he's tried, every brand of dye out there and every light. And his rant is about the fact that they're not all in the same spectrum and it drives him crazy.
Yeah. I have
Is there
11.
any way to address that, or do you just have to buy the dye and the light together and keep doing that
I
forever?
don't know, the light I have, which was the old U-View light, multi-spectrum.
Works pretty good.
Works damn good.
Got the Bosch
Yeah.
set up, and it works on most of them pretty good.
You know, I remember going off on Tony and Phil from
Oh,
the
yeah. From super cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
and going, your dye sucks. They looked at me and said, "What? What light are you using?"
Yep.
And
It's all about the
it
light.
really does depend on the light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think if you spend a little more money, and I did an air conditioning class, and I have a picture of my light. Well, they don't make the same one anymore. They came out with a newer one or just a newer case on it, and it'll tell you it's a multi-spectrum light, but you're gonna spend $300 for
Yeah.
a little flashlight. But it works,
Yeah.
Buy a
And the
piece of
new,
junk and drive yourself crazy.
In the new Infocon, they make the electronic leak detectors.
Right.
And, also in New York, I was just up there, they're out in Syracuse, but so their multi-tool they have an electronic leak detector with a built-in UV light, has 5 UV LEDs with different nanometer wavelengths of UV light.
So that's what they're doing. They're using 5 different frequencies to
Yeah,
cover
so
all the spectrums they need.
yeah,
That's fun.
there's 3 main ones. There's 405 nanometers is really it's like a bluey purple, and then you get into the more ultraviolet, like 395, 365 is a really low one. That's what a 365 nanometer light is what'll make your driver's license glow, like what they use at the airport. But
Well, that's why my driver's license closed.
That's it. But of course, it likes you.
Yeah, right.
get one of those and put it on AC dye, man. That stuff is
Right.
really
Well,
good.
Steve, we've been going here. You got some real good info, but let's talk about MACS membership.
Sure. Good topic, right?
It's a great topic.
Yeah.
And the special deal we have for people that want to be a MACS member on a technician level.
Oh yeah,
This
we
is great stuff. Good articles, good info.
Yeah, I actually, I'm not sure what the final deal is for the technician membership, but we just, being one of our volunteer board of directors, representing training and education, my favorite subject. Yeah, I mean, it's literally thanks to you and a lot of the new members on our board that we are doing a technician level membership at MACS. I don't think we have the whole platform finalized out yet. I think Emily is still working on that. I think it's actually something you guys are going to vote on in the next board
I
meeting.
believe you're right. I mean, we've had the emails go back and forth,
Yeah,
but
because
for
that's
people
a board thing. It's not something, we on staff, you guys give us the direction and we implement it. But
correct.
I want to say roughly, don't hold me to this. I want to say it's $100 annual membership with most of the benefits you would get as a shop member. Obviously, the shops that's our core group. That's who we support. And if you have a shop, you're better value, because everyone in the shop gets the benefits as opposed to just an individual tech. But there's some shops that don't want to spend the money. So, to make it a little more accessible for the individual, we have this great new idea I've been pushing for a long time. So, yeah.
very reasonably priced, way under $100.
Okay, yeah, I'm like I said, I'm not driving that bus, so it's a
Being on the
membership
board,
issue.
I help drive that bus.
Yes,
But I think, helping technicians is important.
yeah,
We've all turned wrenches and you need all the information you can get.
yeah,
And air condition is, again, just not the refrigerant. It's pretty damn complicated. When you get some problems on these newer vehicles, you better have somewhere to go to get that info.
yeah,
And, some of the main providers of service information may not have it. But yet at MACS, the articles you wrote, Paul, prior to you, of course, God may rest in peace, Paul Weisler,
yeah,
wrote many, many good articles. My buddy Dave Hobbs.
yeah.
So there's really some good stuff in our action newsletters or magazine that they can get access to being a MACS member.
Yeah, and even a simple thing like, we have so many MACS members around that they'll call because, over time we build a personal relationship with a lot of our, just like you. I mean, you call me up, hey Steve, what's up with this, right? And we jump through hoops for each other. But like something, I got a email today from one of our members in Guatemala, and he emailed me about something actually Pierre reminded me of earlier. Was a 2003 Ferrari, right? And it's just because, all we do all day long is mobile AC. So sometimes it's easier just to drop us an email or give us a call and say, hey, what do you know about these? What do you know about these, Ford Escapes? What have you heard about these, Honda Civics? And we just rattle it off because I don't even have to look it up. I know it because I get 10 calls a week about it.
Steve, another question that comes to mind, because we do work for body shops,
Yeah.
and we see a lot of these insurance companies go on the cheap. They're not, wherever this condenser came from or receiver dryer, the capacity of that unit. I mean, to me, if it's the original one is yay thick, the one is going to be thinner, it's probably not going to hold the same capacity. And we've seen some problems with that. And sometimes I've had to use man tooth to actually get that car, the coolest it can be.
Yeah. To do that charge, that on the fly charge determination. Yeah.
It's tough.
And we did a whole, which is probably a topic that we should probably revisit it. But we did a Saturday lunch panel discussion at, I think, MACS 17 about what do you do? Because there was a number of vehicles where this was all the way up until about 2010, 2012 model year, maybe 2013, where the car originally came with something big, either a tube and fin condenser, maybe a 6mm piccolo, or like a ribbon condenser. And the only aftermarket you could get is a microchannel. These microchannel condensers, I mean, how, you get some of these condensers, they're $48, $53 microchannel, little tiny condensers. And you go slap that in a car that's supposed to take, I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud. It's supposed to be 2 pounds. You put 2 pounds in there, that condenser is going to be full almost to the top. You'll never get it.
There's no room.
There's no room. Right. So
Yeah, that's what we ran into. We see a lot of those cheapies don't hold the same charge.
Right.
And that's tough. Or if you work on, some EMS type of vehicles or ambulances.
Anything custom built.
Anything custom built.
Yeah.
And in fact, when Sweet and I were doing a heavy duty class, you look at some of the SUVs.
What about RVs? Like
RVs, that's it. RVs, and the way they build those things is scary. You never know how much
these-
hose they're gonna put in, if they switch hose
They
companies.
kind of throw it together, don't they?
They do. They're pretty much thrown together. So it's pretty hard to find that out. And then we were doing a bunch. He has a big, I would say at any given point, he probably has about 10 to 15 Amazon vehicles there.
Yeah.
And they always need air condition. And these things, someone put them in. A lot of them are add-ons.
Yeah.
And it's a guessing game of how much refrigerant goes in there.
But isn't that
Yeah.
true of a lot of panel trucks, not just
Yeah,
panel
it's true.
trucks? And
Yeah, yeah,
a lot of, cabin chassis constructs with whatever's on the back. They
right. Because
they threw a lot
you
of
know-
these systems together.
sure, it didn't matter if it was a Ford original chassis. When they put a box on it or something else, it may change it.
Right.
Yeah. And, the tool trucks is another good one for that. A lot of
Yeah.
your big
My
red tool
Snap-on
company,
guy, my Mac guy.
your big yellow tool truck guy. But yeah, and like when GM and Ford, when they build those cab chassis, they have service port connection, or not service port connection, but they have line connections,
Right.
branched off, because they know that's going to be built into, whatever. It's going to be an ambulance body, it's going to be a tool truck, it's going to be a plumber's body. Yeah, and most of the companies that build those systems are MACS members. So just here's another plug for membership, right? Those companies, they all exhibit at our trade show. They teach classes at our trade show. But we know a lot of those guys that do the installs and do the troubleshooting.
For that.
Because there's, let's take a company like Transair, or Mobile Climate Control, or there's a couple of companies that make those add-on systems, Aberspacher, where they manufacture all the components, and then you'll get another one, a company like Regal Truck and Bus down in New Jersey, where they're a Red Dot dealer. So maybe they go to Red Dot, they buy all the components, and then they'll do the outfit. They'll take that
Right.
They'll take that conversion bus, whatever it is, and they'll buy all the parts. They'll outfit it, install the AC. Now I know Tom really knows his stuff, so he's going to charge it right. But there are so many of those guys out there doing that, and there's so many configurations that skip a step.
Yeah, it's hard to figure out.
It's hard to figure out. So this is another way that your membership helps get you that connection back to, we know the techs that work for them, and we'll connect you with them. And then you can call them and say, hey, I got one of your systems. It's in this tool truck. How the hell do I figure out how much? And then the guys will just give you the down and dirty, like, what model condenser do you have? What kind of an evaporator package is it? What displacement compressor? How many feet of what number hose do you have? Here's
That
This
may
would
be
be
the
a
hardest
rough
part to
charge.
figure out.
Exactly.
yeah,
That's gonna be
Very-
that's
Yeah.
tough.
it's complicated. Yeah. But that
And,
man you talked about is a great tool. If any of the guys on here, anyone watching it later, if you want to get into learning how to do in the field charge determinations, that Mantus is a great tool.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it's not that
Fine.
expensive. Somewhere
Not
in the
really.
$600 range.
Yeah,
So
and you
it's-
can use it to help find that charge plateau.
Right.
Where your high side goes up and then it'll plateau off, and you can keep adding refrigerant, and then you get to that spike, and you can find that range of,
Yeah, that empathy chart. I probably say it wrong, but
the enthalpy chart. Yeah.
empathy chart.
And
Yeah.
P, yes, right.
Don't pee on me.
Don't be on me chart. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
But and let's not forget, he just mentioned the MACS training event that is
Yes.
going to be this year. One of my favorite places, New Orleans.
Yes. We haven't been
So-
there since 2014, but it's actually in the same hotel that we were at back in 2014.
Yeah, you got to come down if you want
Yeah.
some good Cajun food, some jambalaya, some good music down there.
Yep.
And of course, some good information, some training, see some good people. Well, make sure you come down. And I think we are doing some classes in Spanish too, right?
Yeah, we have Spanish language classes. We have
Heavy duty.
heavy duty classes. We have a lot of the HD OEMs. I think right now on the docket, we've got Caterpillar, Case New Holland, Komatsu, and John Deere so far that I've reached out to. I'm also hoping to have bus climate control. You know, BCC is huge in school bus and motor coach AC.
Right.
I'd love to have Prevo come back. Anyone that works on motor coach, that's Prevo. I think people usually call it Prevost. You know, you see
Right,
the Prevost transit buses running down the turnpike. So, yeah, and then we also have a couple. You know, I have Honeywell. I've got them on the hook for probably going to be doing a class on retrofitting 134A systems with YF. We should also have Cora presenting on 456 and 444A. And then, of course, we're going to have Dorman. We're going to have Dorman classes with G and Pete. Yeah, I mean, great content.
And
we're
many
also-
other great instructors like Dave Hobbs.
Yes.
Usually they have Peter Orlando.
I just emailed Dave today asking him about Delphi.
Yep.
Yep. And
All good.
hoping we can get Jerry Mungle again.
Yeah.
Yeah, get him from AC Delco. He's a little bit closer to his house. So,
Yep.
yeah.
The question there, what is the name of that tool again? Mantooth.
Mantooth. Yep. Yellow Jack.
Mantooth. It has, Yellow Jack has 2 pressure transducers, 1234 YF, and I guess you could add any hose to it because it has like a regular R12 fitting on the ones I have, the ends of them.
Yeah. Yeah, and they have adapters for 134. You know what's
Yeah.
cool about that?
And 1234 YF. My kid has both.
And YF.
Yeah.
But what's interesting about that tool is, I mean, even just for I want to say, for great personal learning. I hooked it up to, this is years ago, and I hooked it up to one of my cars, a 2006 Chevy Malibu, and I hooked the transducers on, hooked up the thermocouples to the lines, hooked up the connectors for the pressure, set up my Bluetooth. The car sat in the parking lot all day long, heat soak. It was hot, 4:00 in the afternoon. And then I drove it on the highway 30 minutes to go to my mom's house. And I recorded the entire thing. And it's cool when you're all done, you take all that data and lay it out in Excel and graph it and watch what the high side and the low side does when you drive on local traffic, when you do go on an on-ramp onto the highway, when you're cruising 65, 70 miles an hour, when you come off the highway, and see how you learn so much watching how the compressor runs over that time period. And then see how Ford does it. See how Chrysler does it. See how Honda, how they control their compressors. You learn so much by watching the temperature and the pressure of the system over time.
Yeah, it's real interesting. I haven't driven the car on a highway or anything, but it does come in handy for the oddball type of stuff that's not working right.
Yeah. It's
Now,
almost it's like scoping your alternator and capturing the waveform on the graph.
Right.
Just amazing.
Now, have you come across every new car that I've purchased or had in here, including the ones we did with the Motor Age TST webinars, they were all short about 2 ounces of 1234 YF.
Yep.
And when you went through the chart, it looked like you had 30 degrees difference or so. But when you put Mantooth on it and actually recovered everything, you definitely seen the 2 ounces that you were down. Put the right amount in, and you got way better coolant efficiency.
Yeah. Especially because the charge is so tight. Your tolerance
exactly.
is so tight. You're generally plus or minus 10%. So like if a GM car, if it says 0.6 kg, then you can go up to 0.66, you can go down 0.54. The target being right in the middle. If you looked at the charge graph, that's 0.6 kg is like right in the middle of the charge curve. Like Honda, or yeah, it's a Honda or Hyundai. The Hyundai charge label will give you a range. That's
Yeah, I think it's Hyundai Kia. That'll
Hyundai
give you the
Kia.
range.
That's your plateau. So we
Yeah.
say to always charge to the higher number. And then, the system, they all naturally leak down to that, and you'll still have performance during that.
Yeah, I guess the OEs figure 2 ounces of vehicle can save a lot of money.
Save a lot of money. Yeah. They want that car out of warranty, man.
That's it.
Yeah. But you know what's interesting, and actually something you brought up earlier, for accurate charging, and it even goes to one of the comments in the chat was, your recovery machine, your triple R machine, when you go up whatever car you're working on, you charge it to 1 pound. When it does the charge, it charges 1 pound to the solenoid block inside the machine. It does not charge to the coupler on the car. So the refrigerant that remains in the hose has to get sucked into the car.
That's what people forget.
Yes.
So when you see on the machine, it tells you shut the high side,
Yes.
leave the low side and keep running it.
Yeah, but
You're-
the other guys don't do that.
There's about 2 ounces in a 96-inch hose.
Yes.
And if you don't do that, you're going to be short. And a lot of guys don't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. They think once the charge is over, they're like, oh, I'm done. Close the things, disconnect the hoses.
No, wrong.
No,
Wrong answer.
no. You're between 2 and 4 ounces undercharged in that car.
Undercharging the vehicle,
Yeah.
no doubt.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, it's been great. I did have one other question, but I just forgot it. Boy, damn it. It was something you just said.
Well, I'll answer one more question in the chat. Says, do you believe in that over the contact thermometers on testing inlet outlets? It's two different things. The contact thermometers that are part of the man tooth are really for filling out the graph in your enthalpy chart and for tracking the data more so than temperature testing. I still highly recommend using a contact thermometer for temp testing. Temp testing a system. And matter of fact, I mean, I go out and I do road calls around here to some MACS members. The only thing I really take with me, I'll take my identifier, I'll take my, my little scan tool. I'll carry my scan tool with me, and I'll take a contact thermometer. That's about. Yeah, everyone has pressure gauges. Most of the guys around here have recovery machines. I take my scan tool just because I know it. I'm fast at it. I take my identifier because not everyone has a handheld identifier, and I take my contact thermometer. Because there's so many times I'll go out and something simple. It seems simple to me. It's hard when I walk up to the car, but like I did a 2007 Mercedes one time, and I actually messed with it for about a half hour before I found the problem. But it was a suction hose, and I measured. A lot of AC lines, you'll have aluminum line and then a piece of hose and then more aluminum line, right? So I'll hook up my thermometers before and after the hose to see the temperature going, or it doesn't have to be the hose, it'd be the entire section of line. But I want to know when the refrigerant goes into that line, what's the temperature leaving that line? And it should be the same.
Or you have a restriction.
Bingo. And I have found countless problems. Sometimes you can do it by your hand. I mean, not good on a liquid line, but you grab the line, you feel it. Oh, it's hot going in and it's cooler coming out. There's a restriction.
Right. Very good.
Years ago, when being a BMW guy, we had a whole raft of receiver dryers where they would kind of plug up.
Yeah.
And you'd actually have like frost on the high pressure line leaving the receiver dryer. Oops. It was a real easy diagnosis.
Yeah. I had a Jaguar do that. Old Jaguars in the 90s had a dryer that was horizontally mounted right above the, yeah, period, right above the radiator. And this guy
Turned into a brick. Yep.
yeah, he put so many parts on that car. And he's like, I don't know what's wrong with it. It's not blowing cold. And I just brought the temp tester and I went around and I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. It's hot going in. It's cold coming out. That dryer's plugged up. And sure
Yep.
enough, I mean, the desiccant was all in the lines.
It was a brick, right?
Right.
Yeah.
The desiccant bag blows, man. See little white stuff going all around.
Sometimes they weren't white. Sometimes
Was
they were
it
little
black?
black
Yeah.
specks. Yeah,
Black.
right.
Black.
Yeah,
Yeah.
black specks.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Well, Steve, we'd like to thank you for
Sure.
coming out, and we'd like to thank each and every one of you who attended tonight. We'll have this thing up probably in a day or so on the TST YouTube channel. Let's not forget next month, August 20th, Bernie Thompson. September, Craig Shippey. October, Brandon Steckler. November, proposed Peter Orlando. December, proposed Robert Kenny. And January, Brandon Matthews. If those guys can't make those particular months, we'll have someone else, or they may be in a different month. February is definitely Bill Weaver, and our TST big event, Adam Robinson, Ken Sanders, Andrew Fisher, and oh yeah, you know who'll be there to give you an AC update? Steve. So we always
So-
invite Steve out. It's always good to, hear what else is coming up. And we want to thank you all for attending once again. If you think it was helpful, why don't you type the letter Y in there? If you think it wasn't, you can type the letter S for sucks. How's that?
And we'll see you in a month.
Yeah.
Ish.
A month
A
in.
little more, right?
And thank you, Steve. Thank you, everyone who came out tonight. with
Yeah.
some
Thank
short
you, G, and thank you, Pierre, and everyone for attending. And
Thank you.
Yep.
And let's not forget to thank Doreen. the
oh, and
camera.
thank Doreen for doing all the work behind the scenes. This is what makes
That's
the event
right.
Of course.
happen. Right?
He does all the hard work.
Yeah.
We just do the easy stuff.
We just hang out and have fun.
Well, you guys have a good one. Enjoy your summer, and we'll see you next month in August. Thank you again.